Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to be reviewing Matlock Season 1, Episode 9. It stars Kathy Bates as Maddie Matlock. So before I get into the episode, I just want to say thank you to everybody who watches my videos, likes, subscribes, leaves comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. So getting into this episode, this was a little bit of a family affair because it was Elijah's cousin. So remember, Elijah is another lawyer in the law firm that kind of had a fling with Olympia, or they were flirting, planning a fling, and then she kind of broke it off. So he's an excellent lawyer. You still see him in a lot of episodes, but I feel like there's a little bit of tension between the two because it's like they almost but didn't. So anytime you have a family member in trouble and you have a lawyer in the family, I mean, it's always a given you're going to call that family member and say, hey, you're a lawyer, you have to help. So that's kind of the way it is in this case. Elijah's not that close with his cousin, but obviously she's like, look, you got to help me. So this case was about a young woman who was pregnant, and it was a wrongful termination case. So, that's right up Olympia's alley. She really likes to defend people that, can't stand up for themselves, or where a company or somebody had done something wrong. So she really stands up for the people. So this was perfect for Olympia. So of course she said yes to the case, probably even if it wasn't related to Elijah being his cousin. This is something I feel like Olympia would have took on anyways. But you do have a little bit of tension but he's not in the episode that much. We really just focus on Olympia, Maddie, and the other characters. So her name is Sam Price. She works for a company called Stead Track. And from what I can describe basically her work, it kind of reminds me of Amazon drivers, right? Because she said Steadfast was a company where she would deliver items, but they were so busy and they had so many items to deliver, they were just overworking them. She even said it was not uncommon for the Stead Track drivers to keep the truck running while they made deliveries just to make it faster. And in fact, the company installed cameras inside the trucks so that they wouldn't get stolen or whatever. So it was commonplace and known that the drivers would leave the car, or the trucks running. But she's pregnant, right? So, she's trying to go to prenatal appointments. She said at one point, which is terrible, she would keep a jar and she would like pee in the jar in the back of the truck. Like she just was trying to keep up, but she's pregnant. If anybody is watching this and has never been pregnant, just know that that's for real. You need to pee all the time and you can't hold it. So, I feel for this woman. I worked every day when I was pregnant. I worked all the way up until the day before I went into labor. So I feel for her because I've been her, where you're pregnant and you still have to work every single day up to it. So this was a little real for me on a couple different levels. But basically what happens was somebody steals her truck and all of the packages, and the company fires her. So at first you're thinking, well, gosh, yeah, somebody stole your truck. That seems legit. But she explains that other trucks have been broken into and merchandise stolen, and those drivers have not been fired. So as strange as it is, you would think, oh, well, yeah, definitely they're going to terminate. You left the truck running with the keys in it. But apparently that's commonplace for this company, and that's why, according to her, they installed these cameras so they can kind of see, who's driving, and she turned off the camera, so they think she was in on it, but really she was turning off the camera to use the bathroom, which is real for pregnant ladies, unfortunately. So, they're trying to figure out how to prove that it was wrong for termination. And an interesting aspect is she wasn't suing them for money. She wanted her job. She was like, look, I'm about ready to give birth. I'm pregnant. My husband's got different jobs. This is a steady job for me. It's a big company. I'm sure they had plenty great insurance. Most large companies do. So she was fighting to get her job back. So she wasn't really that upset enough to like bash the company. She was like, look, I'm just telling you how it was. I'm not saying that it's bad, but this is how we worked. So there was a couple of different things like, they're trying to plant evidence. She cleaned out her locker 3 months later after they fired her. A supervisor cleaned out a locker the second time and found a partial packing slip, which went to the stolen device on the truck. And so Olympia was like, wait, you cleaned out your locker, and then 3 months later, the janitor finds a little piece of paper and immediately gives it to the supervisor. Just so happens to be a tracking number for one of the stolen pieces on the truck. And it's just like, I don't know, it totally sounds fake, totally planted. So they actually talked to the janitor and was like, hey, you're a janitor. How did you know that paper was special? I mean, why didn't you just throw it away? And she goes, well, the manager was was standing over me and took it from me right away. And they're like, well, how often does that happen? And she goes, never. So then they're like, okay, we've got proof that they're planning it. But before Olympia could prove that, they bring up all these other pieces of evidence. So you don't actually get the janitor on the trial. And that was interesting to me because most time when you watch Matlock, when Maddie uncovers something like that, like why didn't the janitor just throw it away? That's suspicious. Like, oh, that's great. Maddie, that's a great point. And they never actually get her on the stand because they talk to another manager, and it's like they just kind of set this up. So why do they want this woman fired? She's pregnant. What she's done, other drivers have done. So what about her? Are they firing her? So she, and then through the show, you find out they have a witness. One of the reasons why the janitor didn't get up on the stand, like I said, they kept having other witnesses. They have a witness that shows Sam getting out of the truck, looking around kind of suspiciously, and another driver coming in her truck exchanging keys. So that's very damaging. Like, look, you planned it. You have a witness saying they saw somebody else get in your truck. It was one of her really good friends who also works for SteadTrack. Turns out she had a prenatal appointment that day with her doctor, and she couldn't miss her appointment, but she couldn't get off work. So her friend agreed to switch keys and to drive her truck for deliveries. So when her truck was stolen, she wasn't actually driving, her friend was. So that obviously damages the case, makes it think like her and her friend are in on it. And then you find out later that her friend was $50,000 in debt. So Olympia and Maddie are like, look, you need to come to terms with your friend that you switched with, to go to your appointment, might have actually done it. And the whole time she's like, no, she's my friend. Like, she wouldn't do that. I don't care if she's in debt. I don't care what you say. My friend didn't do it. I'm loyal. She's loyal to me. She's my friend. So I give her props, like throughout the whole episode. She's like, no, she's my friend. And all this evidence is building up like, okay, well, we believe you, obviously, but you need to turn on your friend here who was actually driving because she was in debt. She owed money, but she never wavered. And you find out later, one of the reasons why Sam was targeted was because she was trying to unionize. She was talking to people because she was talking about needing time off for her doctor appointments, for overworking, for, having to keep the truck running because they were having to work so hard and for so long. So she was talking to people to get a union. We find out one of the other managers, they kind of dug a little deeper and found out he was what they call a union buster. So companies, basically what you find out is companies hire people called union busters to kind of come in incognito and work undercover as a colleague to find out the office gossip. water cooler talk, so to speak, and find out who's talking about a union. They report back to the owners or the CEOs of the company, and then they figure out ways to get those people fired. So they find out one of the other managers was helping the company find ways to fire Sam because she was the leader of trying to get a union in there. Which, again, I told you earlier, this was personal to me because I also worked up until the day before I had my child. So I know what it's like to be pregnant, needing to pee every hour, and still working a full-time job. It's a lot, if everybody could be off before having children, that would be great. But it is a lot mentally to work at a stressful job 40 hours a week while you're also going through all of these emotions and getting ready to deliver a human being. So I definitely, related to her on that fact. I also have somebody who's very close to me go through this being fired because they were trying to sort a union for the best of the workers. So I've never heard the term union buster, but I have a friend who a very large company did the same thing, fire them, wrongful termination because they were trying to start a union to protect the workers. So this particular episode was very personal for me. I can relate with the pregnancy and having to work and dealing with doctor's appointments and having to urinate all the time. And I can also relate with having somebody very close to me be targeted and fired wrongfully because they were trying to help employees create a union. And that's what Sam was trying to do. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just, a leader of trying to get a union formed. And the person that I spoke with that I'm close with did the same thing, forming a union, and was wrongfully terminated because of it. So, this case was very dear to me. I like that they were able to, get the manager. They got evidence. And in this case, it was a little more extreme. The union buster, so to speak, actually did steal the truck to give the company reason to fire her. But mainly the reason she was fired, not because she was pregnant, not because her truck was broken into, but because she was trying to form a union for the better of the workers. And the company didn't want that. And so they made up this, framing her of finding this packing slip in her locker, or a part of a packing slip from the stolen goods from the truck, to insist that she was in on the stealing of the truck, all because of the union. Like, this is, so obviously they nailed the guy for, you've been hired by 7 different companies to infiltrate the company and listen to gossip and spy on the employees, and report back to the company who's trying to create a union so that you can fire them. So, that's terrible to begin with. And she didn't even go after money. She just wanted her job. She's just a person just like us, having children, needing money, wanting that steady income. So, I don't blame her at all. She's not, name calling. She just said she was wrongfully fired and wanted her job back. So I can relate to that. Again, you got to make money, especially when you're carrying a child. I know you have this baby. And then to know that she was fired because of the union. So obviously, he lied on the stand. They were able to nail him. But then Olympia said, look, I'm going after this company on a civil suit because you can't do that. So I kind of like that. And Sam was like, yeah. And she kind of had a moment with, her cousin Elijah, who said, we're going to try to see each other more. Because being a lawyer, he doesn't get to see her that much. And she's like, we're the only relatives in this city. We really should see each other more. And she's having a baby, so I like that at the end, Elijah had that touching moment with his cousin, Sam Price. But like I said, it was a great episode. If you don't know a lot about unions, this was realistic to me because I've lived that in my real life. I've lived with having to work all the way up till I gave birth, and having that worry of you still need your job, and also having somebody extremely close to me get fired trying to do the right thing and start a union in a large company that were just firing people. He was able to get a lawyer and, kind of get the law involved for being wrongfully terminated, because it was well known he was trying to do the union as well. So, like I say, this episode was personal to me on so many levels. I was very happy in the end to see the outcome, that, she wanted to rush the trial because she wanted it to be done before she had the baby, which I fully understand. And they were able to do that and get, and get a resolution for her. And then Olympia, being Olympia, I'm going after him, and we'll see, right? I love Olympia. She's like one of my favorite characters behind Kathy Bates. Actually, I love them all. Everybody in Matlock is incredible. I love all the characters. They play them so well. This is one of my favorite new series because I just love the way everybody works well. And Kathy and Maddie surprised me in every episode. So it starts out from the last episodes because she planted that bug, that pen in Julian's desk. So throughout this episode, you can kind of hear that too. And then the preview for next week, they find the bug, and apparently, they're like, oh, you can find out who planted it because it can be traced. So then you're like, holy crap, Maddie planted this bug, and now they figured out it was a bug in his office, and now they're going to be able to track it back to her. So it's showing the preview for next week. That's going to be totally, really exciting to see what goes on with that. However, that being said, saying how personal this episode was, I can relate personally to say it was very realistic. Union busters are a real thing. It happens. I know for a fact. So, I like it when episodes kind of come close to reality, and, justice is served in the end. I loved that everything could be resolved for Sam before she gave birth, and, kind of having that heart-to-heart with Elijah. That was one of my favorite scenes as well. So I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and until next time, I will see you then. Bye.